Welcome to Bedtime Stories. Part 1. Hey everyone, wherever you're watching from today, if you've ever been judged for what you have instead of who you are, this story is for you. Smash that like button and subscribe for more stories about karma, family, and the power of staying true to yourself. My name is Arthur Evans. I'm 62 years old, a retired master mechanic, and a single father to my daughter Lily, who's the center of my universe. My life is simple. My little house with the big porch where my wife Claire and I planted roses 25 years ago, my 1998 Ford F-150 that still runs like a dream because I know every inch of her, and my daughter's laughter filling the rooms. It's not a fancy life, but it's an honest one, built with calloused hands and a full heart. 3 months ago, Lily brought home Ethan Green. Now, Ethan himself. He's a good kid. A bit polished, sure, lawyer, private school, the whole deal, but he looked at my Lily like she hung the moon. I could see why she loved him. He was kind to her, respectful to me. The problem wasn't Ethan. The problem came with the last name. The Greens. Dr. Richard Green, renowned cardiologist at the city's most exclusive hospital. Mrs. Eleanor Green, not an interior designer but an interior curator. They lived in Willow Heights, the gated community where the houses were so big they had names instead of numbers. Theirs was the Eyrie. I looked it up. It means a lofty nest of a bird of prey. Fitting. Lily was a bundle of nerves before the meet the parents' dinner. She bought me a new button-down shirt, one without any grease stains. Just be yourself, Dad, she kept saying, but her fingers were twisting together like she was wringing out a wet cloth. Sweetheart, I said, taking her hands. If they don't like me for me, that's their problem. Not yours, not mine. I should have known what we were walking into from the moment we turned onto their street. The pavement wasn't asphalt, it was some kind of dark, glittering resin that looked wet even though it hadn't rained in weeks. My truck, Old Blue, felt like a lumbering farm animal in a show horse parade. A young guy in a crisp white shirt and black pants materialized as I parked. Good evening, sir. I'll take care of your vehicle, he said, hand outstretched for the keys. I patted Old Blue's dashboard. That's all right, son. She's shy around strangers. I'll just leave her right here where I can see her. The door was answered not by Eleanor Green, but by a smiling woman in a grey uniform. I'm Maria, the house manager. Please, come in. House manager. Not a maid. A manager. For a house. The foyer was bigger than my entire living room. A chandelier that looked like an ice sculpture hung from a ceiling 2 stories up. Everything was white, cream, or beige. It felt less like a home and more like a museum where you were afraid to breathe too hard. Dr. Green emerged from a doorway, hand already extended. Arthur. So good to finally meet you. and Lily, radiant as ever. His grip was firm, practiced. He wore a sweater tied around his shoulders, which confused me because we were inside. Eleanor Green floated in behind him. She was a slender woman with hair the color of expensive champagne, and she kissed Lily on both cheeks without actually making contact. "Darling, you look sweet." Her eyes swept over Lily's simple dress, a flicker of assessment that was over in a second but felt like an hour. Dinner was in a dining room with a table so long you could have landed a small plane on it. We were seated at one end, miles from each other. The plates had delicate gold edges that looked like they'd chip if you looked at them wrong. The first course arrived, a tiny white bowl with a single, perfect scallop floating in a green foam, with something crispy on top that I think was supposed to be pork but looked like a wood shaving. Dr. Green began, dabbing his mouth with a linen napkin. "Lily tells us you're a mechanic." "How, hands-on?" He said the word mechanic like it was a fascinating, slightly tragic anthropological discovery. "Kept the city moving for 40 years," I said, keeping my smile easy. "Started with my dad's shop, Evans and Son. Took it over when he retired. There's a satisfaction in it, you know. A problem comes in, you diagnose it, you fix it. An honest day's work." "Indeed," Dr. Green said, though his tone suggested he thought honesty was a quaint concept for the working class. Eleanor turned her laser focus to Lily. "Lily, darling, you mentioned you went to community college. For marketing. We have some wonderful contacts at the university. We could absolutely get you into a proper finishing program. Something to round out those practical edges." Lily's smile was tight. "I'm happy with my degree, Mrs. Green. I have a good job at the ad agency." "Nonsense, dear. Potential must be nurtured," Eleanor trilled, as if Lily was a mildly interesting shrub that needed pruning. The main course was a piece of fish the size of a credit card, artfully arranged with dots of sauce and microgreens. I was hungrier after eating it than before. That's when the conversation turned to the inevitable. Dr. Green said, leaning forward, his fingers steepled. "The wedding. We're thinking the Willow Heights Country Club, of course. Summer. Black tie optional, but really, it's expected. We have an excellent planner, Marguerite, who does absolute wonders. Now, regarding the financial split." He paused, letting the words hang in the perfumed air. Lily froze, her fork hovering mid-air. "Traditionally," he continued, "the bride's family handles certain aspects. The florals, the photography, the smaller touches." The word smaller was a dart aimed directly at my chest. "Given your situation, we are, of course, prepared to shoulder the majority. We just need to know what you can realistically manage. A ballpark figure." The room was silent except for the faint hum of hidden air conditioning. Lily's face was pale. Ethan was staring intently at his fish as if it might hold the secrets of the universe. Eleanor's smile was thin and expectant. I took a slow sip of water, buying a second to let the cold anger in my gut settle. This wasn't a conversation. This was an audit. Richard, I said, my voice calm, the one I used with nervous customers explaining a costly repair. Lily's mother, Claire, she passed 11 years ago. Cancer. Before she went, we talked about this day. She said, Art, just make sure our girl feels loved. That's the only tradition that matters to me. As for a number, I looked at Lily, giving her a small, reassuring wink. Let's just say I've been saving for this since the day she was born. We'll manage what's right. My answer clearly wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't a number. It was a sentiment. Dr. Green's smile tightened. Of course. Sentiment is important. But realism is too. We'll have Marguerite draw up some preliminary budgets. She can work with whatever parameters you set. The rest of the dinner was a blur of subtle digs. Comments about vintage neighborhoods, mine, questions about my retirement plan, do mechanics even have pensions, and more unsolicited career advice for Lily. By the time Maria brought out a dessert that looked like a deconstructed apple pie served in a shot glass, I was done. In my truck on the way home, Lily finally broke. Sobs shook her shoulders. I'm so sorry, Dad. They're horrible. They think we're trash. Ethan's mom asked me what my maiden name heritage was, like she was checking my pedigree. I pulled over and hugged my little girl, the one I'd taught to change a tire before she could drive. Listen to me, I said, my voice firm. Their money doesn't make them better. Their judgment makes them small. You are brilliant, kind, and strong. You are your mother's daughter. And that is worth more than every damn chandelier in Willow Heights. But Dad, they're going to make the wedding a nightmare. They'll humiliate you. I can't. I won't let them. That's when the idea began to form in my mind. Not out of spite, but out of protection. A wild, crazy idea. Sweetheart, I said, a plan crystallizing. What if we give them exactly what they expect? Part 2. The plan was simple, lean into the role. Be Arthur, the struggling blue-collar dad. I'd talk about the rising cost of parts, the modest pension, the careful budgeting. I'd wear my old work boots to meetings. I'd drive Old Blue everywhere. I'd let the Greens feel magnanimous and superior. All I wanted was to absorb their snobbery so it wouldn't spill onto Lily. I'd be a sponge for their condescension. I called Ethan the next day. Son, got a minute? Can we grab a coffee? We met at the diner near my old shop. I stirred my black coffee, letting the silence stretch. Ethan, I'm going to be straight with you. I'm worried. The wedding, what your parents are talking about, my garage pension, it's not much. After Claire died, medical bills. I let the sentence hang, shaking my head with what I hoped looked like weary resignation. I want to give Lily the world. But I'm afraid I can't even give her the country club. Ethan's face was pure empathy. He reached across the table and put his hand on mine. Mr. Evans, please. You don't have to worry about any of that. We love Lily. I love Lily. We don't care about the country club or the flowers. We can get married at the courthouse tomorrow, for all I care. His sincerity was a balm. He was a good kid trapped in a family of snobs. I appreciate that, son. Truly. But it's her day. She deserves nice things. Just bear with me, okay? And maybe, don't mention this particular talk to your folks. Let them think what they want. Keeps the peace. He agreed, confused but willing. The peace, of course, was a fiction. With the Greens now certain of my financial desperation, their takeover of the wedding plans became absolute. Meetings with Marguerite, the planner, were exercises in quiet humiliation. We were in her pristine office, looking at fabric swatches. Now, Arthur, Eleanor said, holding up a piece of silk that cost more per yard than my first car. This is the quality we're using for the bridesmaids. For Lily's gown, we're looking at imported French lace, of course. But for the mother's dresses. She held up a much plainer, polyester blend. We thought this might be more in line with, well, everyone's comfort zone. She meant my budget. My sister, who would be Lily's stand-in mother, would be dressed in discount fabric. Marguerite presented the preliminary budget. The total made my eyes water, but not for the reason they thought. It was astronomical for a 6-hour party. The line items for floral ambience and photography curation were figures I associated with engine overhauls. And this, Marguerite said, pointing to a relatively small number, is our estimate for your contributions, Arthur. We've kept it to the bare essentials, the bride's bouquet, the boutonnieres for your side of the family, and a basic photographer for the getting ready shots. She said basic like it was a contagious disease. I just nodded, playing my part. That's very considerate of you to keep it manageable. Dr. Green beamed. We're all one family now, Arthur. We look out for each other. The climax of their condescension arrived 4 weeks before the wedding, via a beautifully typed email on thick, cream-colored paper. Subject: A Green Family Initiative. Dear Arthur, as we move closer to uniting our families, Eleanor and I have been reflecting on the true spirit of this occasion. It is about community, generosity, and lifting each other up. We are acutely aware of the disparity in our financial contributions to this joyous event. We would never want Lily, or you, to feel any sense of embarrassment or lesser standing. Your presence and blessing are gift enough. Therefore, we have decided to organize a small, private Green Family Charity initiative in your honor, to be unveiled at the rehearsal dinner. We will be inviting our close friends and family to contribute to a special gift fund. This is not a handout, Arthur, but a hand up. A community embrace. The funds will be presented to you to help with any wedding-related expenses and, hopefully, provide a little foundation for your future. Think of it as our collective wedding gift to you, a new start. We are so looking forward to celebrating with you. Warmly, Richard and Eleanor Green. I read it once. Then again. Then a third time, my hands growing colder with each word. A charity initiative. For me. The father of the bride. At the rehearsal dinner. In front of everyone. This wasn't generosity. This was a public execution. They were going to parade my supposed poverty in front of both families and all their friends, wrap it in the guise of benevolence, and make themselves the heroes of the story. They would forever be the gracious benefactors who helped poor Arthur. It would color every future holiday, every family gathering. I would be their permanent charity case. Lily read the email and erupted. No. Absolutely not. I am calling Ethan right now. This is sick. We are eloping. Tonight. Wait, I said, my voice quiet but with a new steel in it. The protective fatherly instinct had just been joined by something else. Something colder. Something that had been dormant for a very long time. Let them have their surprise. Dad, no. You can't let them do this to you. Oh, I'm not going to let them do anything, I said, a slow smile spreading across my face. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a mechanic who's just identified the exact source of a troubling noise. They want to play charity. Fine. We'll play. But we're going to play by my rules. The game had just changed. I was done being the sponge. It was time to be the wrench in their perfectly polished gears. Part 3, The Truth in the Toolbox. The next morning, instead of going to the diner, I drove to a part of town no one from Willow Heights would ever visit. An industrial park on the south side. I pulled up to a row of identical, nondescript storage units. Mine was Unit 114. The lock clicked open with a familiar sound. I hadn't been here in nearly a decade. Inside, it wasn't filled with old furniture or holiday decorations. It was a time capsule of a different life. You see, Arthur the mechanic was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. I wasn't just a guy who fixed Chevys and Fords. For 30 years, I was Arthur Evans, the secret genius behind Apex Bespoke Automotive. My clientele didn't find me in the yellow pages. They found me through whispers in private clubs and on spirits. I didn't do oil changes. I built and restored hyper-exclusive, one-of-a-kind classic cars for a list of clients that included Saudi royalty, Silicon Valley titans, and A-list celebrities who valued discretion above all else. Want a 1963 Ferrari GTO with modern hybrid technology seamlessly integrated. I built it. Want a Rolls-Royce Phantom with a dashboard inlaid with genuine dinosaur bone. I sourced it, installed it, made it work. My work was art, engineering, and absolute secrecy. A single project could take 2 years and have a price tag well into 7 or 8 figures. My net worth wasn't in a pension, it was in diversified investments, managed by a very discreet firm, and was closer to $50 million than the $50,000 the Greens probably imagined. When Claire got sick, I walked away. The glamour meant nothing. The long hours meant time away from her. I sold the business for a fortune to a German conglomerate, with a strict non-compete and confidentiality clause. I kept the money, my tools, and my sanity. I moved to my simple house, drove my simple truck, and focused on being Lily's dad. It was the best decision I ever made. Until now. I moved past the shrouded shapes of a few remaining car projects, a vintage Jaguar E-Type, a Shelby Cobra kit, and went to a small, fireproof safe in the back. Inside were the artifacts of my past life, a Rolodex with numbers that could reach the untouchable, a few pieces of very understated but very real jewelry, a platinum Patek Philippe watch Claire gave me, her own diamond earrings for Lily, and several leather-bound ledgers. I took out my old, encrypted satellite phone. It still held a charge. I scrolled through contacts, names that would make the Greens social circle look like a backyard barbecue. I made 3 calls. Call 1, to my old tailor on Savile Row in London, Francis. Francis, it's Arthur Evans. Yes, that Arthur. I need a suit. The midnight blue tuxedo. The one with the personal flourishes. And I'll need the accessories from the vault. Yes, everything. I'm back in the game, just for one night. Call 2, to James Worthington, my former business manager, now a senior partner at the elite firm Jameson & Cole. James, Arthur. I need you to draft 2 documents, ironclad, immediately. First, a prenuptial agreement for Lily. Her assets, current and future from my estate, are hers alone, separate property. No commingling. Make it so airtight a mosquito couldn't get through. Second, a donation agreement. We're making a significant charitable gift. I'll email details. Call 3, to Margaret Finley, the Director of Development at St. Christopher's Children's Hospital. Claire had spent her final, brave months there. Margaret, it's Arthur Evans. How is the funding for the new oncology wing coming along? The one you named for Claire. I see. What's the shortfall? 5 million. Consider it closed. As of today. Draw up the papers. But Margaret, this is anonymous. For now. The press release is to be prepared but not released until you get a specific code from me. Understood? I had one more task. I drove to the city's most prestigious jewelry boutique. The manager, a man named Philippe who remembered me, nearly fainted when I walked in. An hour later, I walked out with a small, velvet box containing a necklace, a flawless, pear-cut diamond pendant on a platinum chain. It was not a wedding gift. It was armor for my daughter. That evening, I sat Lily down at our kitchen table, the one Claire had sanded and stained herself. I placed the velvet box in front of her, then the draft of the prenup from James. "Dad, what is this?" she whispered, opening the box. The diamond caught the light, scattering rainbows on the worn wood. "That," I said, "is a reminder. A reminder that you are priceless. That you come from a legacy of love and strength, not just a line in a bank statement. You will wear that to the rehearsal dinner." Then I showed her the prenup. And this is not about distrusting Ethan. I believe he's a good man. This is about protecting you from everything else. From them. It says what's yours is yours. Forever. Ethan will sign it, willingly, or there is no wedding at the country club. That's non-negotiable. Tears welled in her eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of fierce pride. "What are you going to do, Dad?" "I'm going to give a speech," I said. "And I'm going to show them that the man they tried to pity is the one holding all the cards." Part 4, The Reckoning. The night of the rehearsal dinner arrived. The Willow Heights Country Club ballroom was a vision of understated wealth. Orchids everywhere. A string quartet playing Vivaldi. The air smelled of gardenias and expensive perfume. I arrived in old blue, wearing my one decent suit from JCPenney. It felt a bit shiny under the chandelier light. I saw the looks, the polite, pitying smiles from the Greens' friends, the subtle nods of the poor father. Lily was stunning in a simple emerald green dress, the diamond pendant glowing at her throat. Ethan, pale but resolute, stood by her side. He had signed the prenup without hesitation, telling his parents it was modern and sensible. Dinner was a 7-course affair. I made small talk, playing my part, complaining gently about the price of synthetic oil, laughing a little too loudly at jokes. I could feel the Green's satisfaction radiating from the head table. After dessert, Dr. Green stood, tapping his crystal flute with a spoon. The room quieted. "Family, dear friends," he began, his voice a warm, practiced baritone. "Tonight is more than a rehearsal. It's a celebration of union, of community. And true community means lifting each other up." He gestured magnanimously towards me. My heart thudded, but my hands were steady. "We are so blessed to welcome Arthur into our family. We know he's faced his share of life's financial headwinds. A sympathetic murmur rippled through the room. Lily gripped my hand under the table. Her knuckles were white. So, as our gift, as a true welcome, we've started something special. A screen descended behind him. A professionally produced video began to play, with soft, inspirational music. The Arthur Evans Fresh Start Fund. It showed soft focus images of tools, of my old truck, of our modest house, photos clearly taken without my knowledge. A voiceover spoke about providing a hand up to hard-working individuals facing temporary hardship. It was brutal. It was humiliating. It was perfectly packaged philanthropy as a weapon. The video ended with a website URL and a QR code. Dr. Green beamed. We've even set up a way for all of you, tonight, to contribute to Arthur's Fresh Start. Waiters began distributing elegant pledge cards and envelopes to each table. The condescension was so thick you could choke on it. Then, Dr. Green produced his pièce de résistance, a giant, cartoonish fake check, made out to Arthur Evans for the amount of $10,000, initial donation. He carried it over to me, cameras flashing, hired by him, no doubt. Arthur, this is just the beginning. From our family to yours. The room erupted in polite, condescending applause. I looked at the fake check, then at Dr. Green's triumphant face, then at Eleanor's gleeful smirk. This was their victory lap. I stood up slowly. The applause died down, replaced by curious silence. They expected a stammered thank you, maybe a tear of gratitude from the poor old mechanic. I didn't take the check. I walked past Dr. Green, my worn shoes silent on the plush carpet, and stepped up to the podium. I adjusted the microphone. Richard. Eleanor. Thank you for that, truly remarkable presentation. My voice was calm, clear, and carried to the back of the room. No tremor. No nerves. Your concept of charity is certainly unique. I reached into the inside pocket of my JCPenney suit jacket. People leaned forward. They expected a crumpled thank you note. I pulled out a small, sleek remote. I clicked a single button. On the giant screen behind me, the Fresh Start Fund logo vanished. It was replaced by a simple, elegant crest, the Evans Family Legacy Trust. A soft gasp went through the crowd. You've got me thinking about charity, I continued, my eyes locking on the Greens, whose smiles were beginning to frost. Real charity. My wife, Claire, died of cancer at St. Christopher's Children's Hospital. She died in a place that runs on real generosity. I clicked the remote again. The screen now showed architectural renderings. St. Christopher's Children's Hospital. The Claire Evans Memorial Oncology Wing. The funding gap to build that wing, to help other families, other children, was $5 million. I paused, letting the number hang in the suddenly very still air. As of 4 o'clock this afternoon, the Evans Family Trust has covered it in full. The wing will be completed by next year. The room didn't gasp. It roared with a collective intake of shocked breath. Heads swiveled between me and the utterly stunned Greens. Dr. Green's face had gone from smug to ashen. I clicked a third time. The screen showed a legal document. Donation agreement and promissory note. Furthermore, I read, my voice now ringing with authority, the Arthur Evans Fresh Start Fund is hereby officially endowed with a founding donation of $500,000. All administrative control and fiduciary duty will be permanently handled by the firm of Jameson and Cole, to ensure the funds are used appropriately to help those in genuine need, not for vanity projects or public spectacles. I looked away from the screen and directly at Richard Green. Your charity was a performance. Mine actually builds something. Remember the difference. I then turned to the room. I saw Ethan, his hand over his mouth, eyes wide with shock and what looked like dawning admiration. I saw Lily, standing tall, her tears now ones of blazing pride, her diamond flashing. Please, I said, my tone shifting back to that of a gracious host. Enjoy the rest of your evening. The bar is now an open one, compliments of the Evans family. I stepped down from the podium. I didn't look at the Greens. I walked straight to my daughter, took her hand, and together with Ethan, we walked out of the ballroom. We left behind a silence so profound you could hear the ice melting in the stunned guests' drinks. Part 5: The Aftermath and the Beginning. The fallout was swift and absolute. Ethan showed up at my door at sunrise the next day. His eyes were red-rimmed. Mr. Evans. Arthur. I am so sorry. I am so ashamed. I had no idea they would. I never wanted. He broke down. I love Lily. Just Lily. Not the country club, not the performance. I want to marry her. But I'll understand if you never want to see me or my family again. Lily looked at me, her heart in her eyes. I looked at the young man sobbing on my porch, the one who had signed the prenup, who had stood by Lily against his parents' constant suggestions for improvement. Ethan, I said, my voice kind. You're not your parents. Come inside. Let's have some coffee. We were married 2 weeks later. Not at the country club. In my backyard, under the old oak tree Claire and I planted. Lily wore a simple, beautiful dress and her diamond pendant. My sister gave her away. Our friends from the neighborhood came, along with a few of Ethan's real friends who had been horrified by his parents' actions. It was simple. It was perfect. It was filled with genuine love. The Greens were not invited. As for Dr. and Mrs. Green, their social and professional collapse was stunning. The story, of course, leaked. A guest sold it to a society gossip blog. The headline, "The Snob Who Tried to Charity Shame a Secret Millionaire." It went viral. Their carefully cultivated image of benevolent elitism was shattered. They became a laughingstock, a cautionary tale about arrogance. Dr. Green's practice saw a sudden, mysterious exodus of high-profile patients. Rumors swirled about the ethics of a doctor who would stage such a cruel public humiliation. Eleanor Green's curating business dried up. No one wanted to be associated with the punchline of the season. I didn't gloat. I just lived my life. I funded the hospital wing in Claire's name. The Real Fresh Start Fund, managed by James's firm, has already helped dozens of families with medical debt and housing crises. Last month, a letter arrived from the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles. They had somehow heard about the collection in my storage unit, the Jaguar, the Cobra, a few other pieces. They want to host an exhibition, The Artisan's Hand, the Lost Masterpieces of Arthur Evans. Lily is helping me write my biography for the placards. And Lily and Ethan. They're expecting their first child in the spring. A little girl they're going to name Claire. They live in the cottage on the back of my property that I fixed up for them. We have family dinners on my big porch every Sunday. The laughter is real. The love is unconditional. Sometimes, people ask if I regret the deception. The months of playing poor. I don't. Not for a second. It was the ultimate diagnostic tool. It revealed the rotten parts in their machine. It showed me my daughter's unshakable strength. It proved my son-in-law's true character. And it taught me that sometimes, you have to let people hang themselves with the rope of their own arrogance so everyone can see how weak the fiber really is. Money doesn't change who you are. It just amplifies it. The Greens were amplified as cruel, small-minded snobs. All I ever wanted to be amplified as was Lily's dad. And now, finally, I am. If you believe that character is the only true currency, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories about karma, family, and the quiet strength of ordinary people. Share your own stories of justice below. White down pointing backhand index.